how do I tackle adding new features to my indie game? I'll be showing you my process today top to bottom as I continue my complete overhaul of A Farmer's Life, while also adding in the new features of farm and quarry expansions. Hey, HannahMouse1 here. For those of you who don't know me, I am an aspiring game dev who is aiming to show you that you can make professional quality games in even the most beginner friendly of software such as Scratch. My main project, A Farmer's Life, is a top-down 2D farming simulator game inspired by Stardew Valley, and it has been in the work for 2 years now. If you've been following this series, then you know that I've recently been going through a complete visual overhaul of the game and refining each gameplay feature as I polish off its visuals. Today I will continue that process by revamping the first 4 shops and adding the ability to expand the farm and quarry. Expanding the farm has been a frequently requested feature from playtesters, but I was initially hesitant because efficiently managing the limited space is a core challenge of the game. However, as I've added in more elements such as tier 2 crop, berry bushes, workspaces, and just a higher demand for bigger yields of crops as you unlock trading and restaurant recipes, the original farm size has become more restrictive than strategic. This change should ensure that players can keep up with the growing complexity of the game without unnecessary frustration. I want the farm and quarry expansion to feel significant, similar to how defeating the wall of flesh in Terraria marks a significant shift in gameplay in that game. Players will only be able to expand the farm once, and I've placed this milestone between building the fishing hut and unlocking tier 2 crops. To reinforce the momentous nature of this expansion, I also introduced several new features that unlock alongside it. I started with the general store as this was the most straightforward to update. The changes were primarily cosmetic, reskinning everything in the new colour palette and expanding elements to fill the space as I removed the bulky brown border. I also added animations for Bessa, the shopkeeper, so she blinks and occasionally plays with her hair, which makes her feel more alive. But on a different note, updating her character made me rethink my future approach to cutscenes. Initially I planned to make Stardew Valley style top-down cutscenes, but given that the game's characters are more prominently displayed in this larger, more detailed form during normal gameplay, I am considering a more visual novel-esque approach instead, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Next, I tackled the hardware store. The original background design was solid, so I mostly just recolored everything. I also added a ladder to fill some of the empty space and adjusted Andy's colours to fit the new palette, which I found particularly challenging for his hard hat and high-vis jacket, and I animated him so that he now occasionally takes a swig of beer, adding a bit more personality. Setting up the shop's interface was straightforward, but I made an optimization by having the inventory icon sprite handle the product icons instead of the hardware store sprite. This minimizes redundant assets and reduces the file size. The build menu required more refactoring. Each building now has an appropriate icon, text is displayed using the text manager, and material requirements are shown via the inventory icon sprite. I also added a tab for farm and quarry expansions. Getting the expansions to function properly was a trial and error process of adjusting variables and custom blocks. The farm expands with 5 extra rows at the top and 5 extra columns on each side, while the quarry gains 5 extra rows and columns on all directions. To populate these expanded areas, I introduced 3 new ores, Terrestrium, Starlight and Galactarine, along with 3 large stumps to help players gather the large amounts of wood needed for late game buildings. I also added 2 new workspaces, the de-seeder, which converts crops into seeds, which is especially useful for multiplying exotic crops, and the well, which allows players to refill their watering can without trekking to the bottom of the farm. These workspaces can be purchased from the hardware store once the expansion is unlocked. While working on expansions, I also optimized the crafting system. Now only recipes that use unlocked ingredients will display. For example, the animal product based recipes won't appear until the barn is built. Tier 2 crop recipes won't show until research is complete, and the recipes with the new ores won't be visible until the quarry is expanded. Additionally, I transitioned all crafting UI text to the text manager, allowing me to remove old sprites with baked in text, further reducing the clutter. I also set up crafting for the new ores, recipes for the de-seeder, and made it so that clicking the well with the watering can refills it. Revamping the blacksmith was mainly a retexture job. The background was updated, though I'm still not entirely satisfied with it. It feels a little empty compared to the other backdrops. I may add more details later. However, I'm really happy with how Mia turned out. She now stands behind an anvil, periodically hammering a piece of metal, complete with flying sparks for a bit of extra visual appeal. The shop buttons were recolored to match the blacksmith aesthetic, and I ensured that the inventory icon sprite could handle purchasing and selling bombs since they don't function like regular items. The tool upgrade page required a bit more work. I adjusted the text manager to display all the necessary upgrade information and adapted the system to accommodate 3 new upgrade levels corresponding to the new ores. This meant creating new icons for the upgraded tools and recoloring tool animations within the player rendering sprite. Finally, I overhauled the research lab. The background was recolored and I added a distillation still to fill the empty space. Derek, the researcher, now has an animation where he pours different coloured chemicals into a beaker. The research category icons were recolored to match the lab aesthetic, and upgrade icons were repurposed from the inventory and task icons. I shifted research descriptions to the text manager instead of having them baked into the art, further streamlining the system. And I also introduced 2 new research upgrades: Tree Believer, which accelerates tree regrowth, and Would You Rather, which increases wood drops. These changes address the aforementioned late game difficulty in gathering sufficient wood. Additionally, instead of separate research upgrades for iron and gold, I consolidated them into one, which also unlocks the new ores at higher levels. This update showcases how a seemingly simple addition, farm expansions, can ripple out into a web of interconnected features to ensure that they integrate seamlessly into the game. I hope this breakdown gives you an insight into my development process and the careful thought that goes into balancing new content. Let me know what you think, especially about the cutscene style debate that I mentioned earlier. But otherwise, that's all I got done this week, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did. It lets me know that this is something that you want to see more of. Join the Discord or check out the game, both linked down below, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!